It's time to start. Nice to have you all here. Those of you that are here should have already been through the basic class, either today or at some previous CALLERLAB. Is that correct? Okay, good. Well, if you went through the basic session today, then today's session will flow right on into the next one. If you did a basic session somewhere else, we're going to take a sharp left turn here, but we'll still have some fun. You'll notice that in the session this morning, all of the time was spent on posture, breathing, and basic sound production. So in this session, we're going to talk a little bit about how you take that raw sound that's coming out of your throat and enhance it to be more beautiful than it would otherwise be if just left alone. There are some things that you can do to make your sound more attractive. There are some things that you can do to make your sound less attractive. And I'm going to try to approach that from several different points of view, different angles, so that maybe one of them will help you if the other one doesn't. I'd like to have you up out of your seats and into a semicircle so that we'll be able to move real fast through our events. Wrong choice. Wrong choice. I'm so glad for that. I used to try to be, but then I decided that was a lost cause. I'm embarrassed enough to say that for a long time, the way that I made humor was to make off-colored jokes, and they all got recorded. And I just think, oh man, someday I'm going to stand before God, and He's going to say, "Who said that?" And I'm going to say, "Well, that was me in a former life, and I'm a changed man," or maybe not, maybe just a little more edited. But be that as it may, the warm-ups that I gave you this morning, for those of you that were here, had to do with alignment of your posture and trying to find a breath that stayed directly underneath you, so I won't go back and do those again. Those exercises were somewhat different than the exercises in the basic that was done any time heretofore. So if you didn't get those, you may want to get the tape or catch up with that some point. So then, the next thing that I'd like to have you do is I'd like to have you take a nice quieting breath. You'll remember in the class today that we set up a rhythm that when your hand goes out and away from you upwards, it rotates upwards, and that is representational of the inhalation process. So there's, everybody know how you fill up a water balloon? You know, you put it on the spigot and it fills up from the bottom up, and that's what this represents, that the air goes into the bottom of your lungs first and then fills to the top. Then at the apex of that little arc, the pattern changes, and it's no longer inhalation. There's just this little suspended moment, and then it starts its descent. And as you descend, the breath goes out of your body. And that breath should be somewhat representational of your hand going downward, because as you go downward, you dig deeper so that the lower abdominal muscles are involved in the exhalation process. So join with me in that process. First, your hand goes up, and you inhale. And exhale. You thought this was CALLERLAB. This is Zen. You don't want really to let it stop. It just is in one, there's this little suspended moment at the top and a little suspended moment at the bottom. And it's kind of oval-like. It's circular, but not exactly a circle. Okay, so in that position, what I want you to do is to take that, you get your breath in, and right at the top, just before you start to exhale, I want you to form your lips into a nice tight pucker, like you had a little straw in your mouth. Okay, so here you go. In. And a third time. This arc should describe itself with the apex arriving right about your shoulders and the bottom occurring right about your hips. That's the area in which you breathe. Okay. Now what I'd like to have you do is to take that breath, form that little puckered sound, and I'd like to have you undulate the pitch. We did this in the last time, but this is actually the drill that belongs to the intermediate class. I'll demonstrate. And what I want you to try to do is to avoid where your ribs contract inwards. You can go ahead and I'll just take the circle part. Never have been a gambler. What did they say about gambling? Never turn your back on anybody. Well, it's all right. It's all right. But the process is that you want to keep your breath in that grounded position. Try that with me, please. That seems to be very easy. There's no one that seems to be struggling with that notion. My ears are telling me that the breath flows pretty readily and pretty easily. When you start moving to the middle of your voice, for some people, that pattern tries to change or has been changed for a long time in your life, and I'm going to try to talk you out of that change. You'll see what I mean right away. You take that breath. That little undulation encourages you to do one of two things. Either to let your ribs contract to get that little pulsation, or to bear down with your breath this way, like my hands are doing, and only those here present will get it because the tape can't show it. But your hands go down, downward, and outward. And if you can do that, then you'll have control of your breath in that moderate range. Will you do it one more time? Inhale. And... Great. I didn't hear anybody having any trouble with that. Raise your hand if that vibration pattern felt at all unusual to what you're accustomed to doing. Anybody? Everybody? Okay, so far. I can guarantee you that it's different than what you have been doing, but it's not so exaggeratedly different as to draw a lot of attention. However, when you did that drill, it didn't really take any more pressure to go to that pitch than it did to go on the low pitch. And that's the point I wanted to drive home to you. That high notes don't require more pressure. As a matter of fact, the more pressure you get on the high notes, the harder they are to sing. And we're going to put that to the test now, because now we're going to go into that range, okay? So inhale, exhale. Okay, raise your hand. Some guy went walking by like, what in the world is that? Obviously not a square dance caller. Well, that poor fella didn't know anything about square dance calling, and he looked mighty suspicious. A bunch of bumblebees in the room here. So now let me ask you, that probably felt different than normal. If it did, would you comment upon what you perceived happening? Anybody? Everybody felt really normal?
You sound like you had to reach higher. You sound like you had to stretch yourself more to make it. I did. I felt like I had to.
You felt
raise my stretching more, had to put more into it, it seemed like.
I think it didn't feel quite as loud. It was more of a held-in, higher.
That's how you perceive it, right? The reality is that it wasn't quieter, but it vibrated differently inside your body than what you're used to feeling in your low range. Most all of us talk in a somewhat low range, so we get used to vibrations that are down in this part of our body, down in the chest and our throat and in our mouth. And when you get up into that high range, the sensations migrate, and they go up, ooh, they're up in there, and that's not where we normally. And if I were to talk to you that way, you would say that I was on something. Yeah.
What I was going to comment on is it feels like it's moving up in my body. And is that so? Because there's your head voice and there's your chest voice. Is that naturally how it's supposed to happen?
The answer to all of those questions is yes. Okay. It is naturally supposed to happen. The nomenclature, chest voice, head voice, actually is a nomenclature that has to do with subjective sensations about where they vibrate and where the sensations occur. They're created by the shape of your vocal folds, and you can't really consciously change the shape of your vocal folds until you're pretty good at it, but you can set up conditions where your vocal folds will either remain thick from top to bottom, like a nice juicy steak, only really on the miniature side, and when your vocal folds are thick, the vibration pattern induces some sensations down into your chest and into your trachea and into your throat, and those sensations give the nickname chest voice. When you go into the higher ranges of your voice, the vocal folds stretch long and they thin out, and when they thin out, the vibrating edges are less complex, and so the tone is generated differently, and it finds more sympathetic vibration in the head. Hence the name chest voice and head voice, although it really occurs in the same location, it's just how you sense them. So as you go higher, the sensation is that it goes up into your head more. For men who've spent most of their life in that lower chest voice, that's quite an unknown territory, and therefore a little suspect. Often for women, it's just the other way around. They have a hard time finding down into that chesting range. Well, the purpose of that exercise was not really to introduce you to the highs and lows of your voice, but rather to show you that your breath needs to stay grounded whether you're going into the high range or whether you're in the low range. If you do it incorrectly, you'll just watch my ribs as I do it. I'm going to do it wrong. And you can see my body undulating, and you can hear it's kind of tight and driven. It reduces the pressure. And all the undulation does is to give a strong, weak pulse to give you that sense of leaning down into your breath rather than contracting inward. And that's a really important thing. It stretches out your vocal folds in a significant way. Now, having done that drill, to take that stretching breath and glide from the bottom of your voice to the top of your voice. Go. And you could feel the sensations migrate from down in your body somewhere out in the hemisphere. But it still stayed grounded. It should not lead you to a contraction. And for many people, about halfway up the scale or 2/3 of the way up the scale, they'll go from this nice stretched breath to a contracted breath. I'd like to have you do that again and monitor yourselves. Take the stretched breath. Go. And the idea is over a period of time to get to where your breath will stay low on you and not contract inwards. Any questions or comments about that before we move on? Everybody's okay. You're really smart, or I'm not saying it very well. Either way it goes. Okay, now those are just the warm-ups. Those are just to kind of remind you of where you're supposed to be. Now comes the subject for the day. The first of 3 different subsets having to do with resonance enhancement. The vocal tract is set up in a very distinctive way, so that right at the point of the larynx there's a little hollow chamber, and that hollow chamber produces some resonance. When it migrates from that small chamber into a bigger chamber, then there is something magical that occurs in that transfer. And it's especially true if the space that's up above is 6 times bigger than the space that's down below. There's something about us going from a small space to a big space that really enhances resonance. So the first thing that you have to do is to kind of touch your Adam's apple. Find your Adam's apple. For you girls, she said, it's there somewhere. May I just touch your neck? Oh, there it is, right there. See that little promontory? There's a little notch. That's called the thyroid notch, because the thyroid cartilage is right there. And that's your Adam's apple. So you find that thing. Yours looks like it's a little bit in a low place. May I just find it for you? There it is right there. Okay? Now, that place right inside there is where you're going to find that chamber. And for some of you larger men in the room, that chamber may be as big, volume-wise, as the tip of my thumb or the first notch of my first knuckle of my index finger. Just do that to yourselves and take a look. Now, what would you call that in terms of a size? An olive? A grape? Well, no, you don't want a thimble in your throat. I mean, we're going to have, this is food stuff. So what would you say? Something like an olive? A medium olive? Okay, now remember, that's not a thing. That's actually an empty space, but it's about that size. So the idea in mind now is to create in the back of your mouth enough room so that 6 of those grapes or 6 of those olives could be there. This is just like going back to college. How many olives can you get in your mouth? And so there's a stretching that goes on inside there. And after we've done it, I'm going to get you to feel it. The song, what song should we sing today? We did, My Bonnie did, what's that? Yeah, that one. What else should we do instead? Amazing Grace, Home on the Range. Home on, you don't know Amazing Grace? So that's all right. So what about Home on the Range, that American folk song? Okay, so right off the bat, I just want you to sing with this kind of flowing sensation that you got in the session this morning. Oh, give me a home. Go. Oh, give me a home where the buffalo roam, where the deer and the antelope play. Okay, that's a nice, healthy sound. Now, but now we're going to find out. Now we're going to really show him how it's done. Because each one of you, for you girls, I didn't say to you, inside of, what is your name? Sarah. Inside of your throat is about the size of the tip of my little finger. What would you call that? A big fat peanut? Huh? A what? A peanut?
Very small.
A peanut?
Okay.
Okay. So, a what? Let's go with a peanut. I like peanuts better than soybeans. But nevertheless, it's about that volume. So what you've got to do, Sarah, is here in the back of your mouth, you got to make enough room for 6 of those to be. For you, it'd be about the same size, Ladies here, all about the same size. Men, either about that size or that size. But, just...
Is that what gives them a deeper voice then? Is this?
No, actually, it's the size and the dimension of their vocal folds that makes it. Men's vocal folds are about 2/3 or 3/4 as time again 1 3/4 size bigger than female vocal folds. So there's more substance there vibrating. But all of this other stuff adds to it. Okay, so each one of you think small, 1, and 6 big. You win no points if the 6 starts to come down and intrude on the 1. The 1's got to stay by its little lonesome self, and the 6 has got to be up here. Okay, so think about that, and we're going to sing, Oh, Give Me a Home one more time. Got it in your head? Go. Oh, give me a home where the buffalo roam, where the deer and the antelope play. Okay, so... So now, let me ask you, did you hear a difference in that? All of a sudden, you weren't particularly singing louder, but you were getting a whole lot more resonance in your voice. So this is our opportunity, phrase by phrase by phrase, to let me put you on the microphone as we go around. So here we go. And everybody start singing, and then I'll point at you individually, and it'll be your little solo moment. Okay? Small to big. Go. Oh, give me a home where the buffalo roam, where the deer and the antelope play, where seldom is heard a discouraging word, and the skies are not cloudy all day. Home on the range,
With the deer and the antelope play, where seldom is
give me a home where the buffalo roam, and the deer and the antelope play, where seldom is heard a discouraging word, and the skies are not cloudy all day.
Every one of you are sort of,
Home, home on the range.
you got it. Okay. Oh,
Where the deer and the antelope play.
can you tell, each one of you, as you had your moment, could you feel how hard that was to do? First of all, you're terribly self-conscious being a solo singer all of a sudden. What a weird attitude for a bunch of square dance callers, for heaven's sakes. Yeah, and that's right. But the reality is that you actually have some control over the back of your throat, the space in the back of your throat, more than you think you do. But we're all deeply habituated, and so for many of you, the difference between trying to make that space and actually letting it happen was hard. Yes?
So, do most singers then, the sound comes from the front rather than the back? Is that what you're saying?
I'm not exactly sure. Ask that question again.
Like the sound, when we sing, the sound tends to come kind of toward the front of the mouth rather than in the back.
For many people that are untrained, the back part of their throat is quite small. And when it gets small, it doesn't pick up that extra resonance enhancement, and so you just get the raw sound coming out without any kind of acoustical boost out of it. And if you're used to singing that way, without any space in the back of your throat, to make the space makes you feel as if you've just given up some control, because we all like that control. It's familiar to us, but it does create some limitations on our sound. So right off the bat, the thing that you need to know is that the back of your throat is just a series of sphincter muscles that contract inward to push the food down your esophagus toward your stomach. The problem is that if you let those muscles contract partially or all the way, you'll get a very small opening in the back of the throat. And if you let them relax, you'll get a big, spacious feeling in the back of your throat, and that's part of the trick. So the second, though, everybody take a little surprise breath. I'll show you. Just go. And as you do that, you'll sense that the roof of your mouth goes upwards, and something on the bottom of your throat, on the bottom of your mouth, goes the opposite direction. Will you all do that? Can you sense that? That's 2 out of the 3 elements that helps make that space bigger. The soft palate is a movable place, and when it's up, there's more space in the back of your throat than when it's down. When it's down, you get the sound that comes a little bit like this, and all the sound comes shunting up through your nose. And that's not the way you want to sing any time. So you raise your soft palate, and that makes a more discrete space in the oral pharynx. And that's one of the movable parts. And for many mid-Americans, a lazy soft palate is one of the things that has to be overcome to just get that sense of elevation. The other thing is that your larynx has some movable positions. When you swallow, it comes up. When you relax, it goes down. And the downward position is the best place for singing, not the upward position. So you get a downward motion and an upward motion kind of in opposite directions, and all of a sudden you begin to see how it might be possible to make more space in there. So here we go again, only this time, every time you stop to take a new breath, think of that surprise breath that puts the roof of your mouth high and your larynx low.
Is it like your lower jaw? Is it just imaginary, or does it actually happen? Does it actually feel like it moves back further when you
Not necessarily, but it might. It doesn't. The jaw is another subject. Everybody put your fingers right on your Adam's apple and swallow. Feel it rise? Goes up. There are some contractor muscles that raise the larynx and tip it forward so that when you go to swallow, it's out of the way, right? You don't want those muscles flexing while you're singing. And yet, unfortunately, sometimes they do. And so you have to kind of coax them into passivity. So here you go. Take a surprise opposite breath. Go. Oh, give me a home where the buffalo roam. Stop. Take another surprise breath. Where the deer and the antelope play. And when you're doing that, you can feel that there's more space there. There's one other movable part that we haven't mentioned so far, and that is if your tongue has a tendency to loll back into your throat, as often happens with American English, then it will intrude into that space and shrink it. So if the soft palate falls down, the larynx comes up, or the tongue lolls back, you'll kill that space. And then all of a sudden that resonance enhancement is stripped away, and all you're left with is the raw sound that you started with. So, 1 to 6 in your own character way. Go. Oh, give me a home where the buffalo roam, where the deer and the antelope play. Let's talk for just a second. Was there anything, did any one of you sense anything unusual, successful, easier in that experience?
I went from what I call my singing voice. I went from what I consider a singing voice, like in church, to the voice I tend to use when I'm square dance calling. It's more of a talking voice with just a little bit of rhythm and to it.
And was the transition
I project fairly clearly in
in a speaking voice,
voice,
or in a calling voice?
right? In the calling voice, but
You made that transition pretty readily, didn't you?
Oh,
Wasn't it?
yeah, because I've had choir, so I can go either way.
All right, so it allowed you to transition as you went higher. Any other observations?
Well, a perfect example is Jim Neighbors. Have any ever seen Gomer Pyle or seen him on Andy Griffith? And he's talking like this. But the minute that man starts to sing, he's a totally different person. And I've got to meet him in person, and I spoke with him about that. And he said that when he was a child, the way he was raised, he went to church, and in church is where they taught him how to sing, but they never taught him how to talk.
Another really good example is Edith Bunker. She has that little twangy voice that's so irritating and awful, and then she's actually a very, very successful trained singer. And she has control over those elements. So one of the things that I wanted to drive home is that if you can envision in your mind a small space and a big space, you'll get that extra resonance enhancement. And it won't be because you're singing louder. It won't be because you're doing anything more difficult. It's just that you'll have set up the conditions so that the raw sounds coming out of your larynx can be captured and enhanced. Certain frequencies get that enhancement, and they make it sound like a human voice. Okay, so that's one of the elements of resonance enhancement that I'd like to talk to you about. The second one is very important and just as much fun, but just as silly. I need you to take your hands and form them into a little miniature megaphone. Okay, so it's small here at the beginning and goes out as a megaphone would. It might. So what I want you to do is, the implication is that inside the megaphone is the only place where resonance happens. And if you put that megaphone so your fingers touch the tip of your nose and the tip of your chin, that doesn't leave very much resonance space inside your mouth. And so you have to make a sound that's kind of strange. Yeah, and it's very furry and it's very strange. No one ever talks this way on purpose except to make a joke, right? Unless you're Inspector Clouseau. Yes. And so what I would like you to do, but the purpose of this exercise is to do the following. When you try to get a very bright sound in your mouth, you end up pinching in your vocal folds, and that makes your throat tired. And so if you don't do that, you have to find another way to make the sound forward, and that's with the little megaphone. So will you count to 10 with me? 1, 2, but wait, but wait. I hear somebody saying 1, 2, 3, or 1. Oh, that means that the megaphone is not working. It has to stay forward, in front of your teeth. All of the sounds, nothing inside your mouth. Try it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But you know, some of those sounds don't feel normal, do they? For example, the word fur, that's not the way I'd say O. 4, 5, 5. I don't say 5 that way, I say 5. But 5 is different, and you have to modulate your vowels to make it happen. Can you do it with me? 1. No. 1, right here. 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And nobody does this except for parlor games, fortunately. But that's the first and the most forward position. It's silly. Nobody does that on purpose. But the second position is frequently done. The more popular the music is, the more the number 2 place works. And you now form the megaphone by placing it across your smile lines to the corners of your mouth, and the trajectory is up across the bridge of your nose. And then you don't let any sounds in deeper inside except right at your eye teeth and right in front of your teeth right in there. That's all you get. So if you count to 10, you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's right. And that doesn't feel like natural speech yet, does it? No, it doesn't. But there are individuals that talk that way. Well, somewhat. But this actually has something to do with another thing, and I'm trying to sneak up on you by doing it. But you get that sound way forward like that, and when you hear some of the popular belting singers, they're in that position. And the vowels that they make are not exactly the normal speaking vowels. They've been modulated forward just ever so slightly. 3, the third position, takes in right about the corner of your eyes. And if you were to slice across your mouth, you'd see that it allows resonances back to just about where your molars begin. But nothing behind there, just in front of there. And it allows sound, the hard palate behind the alveolar ridge, right there up to almost to the highest part of the roof of the mouth. It's on that forward slope that it takes place. Now count to 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's a very interesting sensation, isn't it? Very resonant, very energetic, powerful, but it doesn't feel like normal speech, does it? Not quite. Some might say yes. Anybody say yes?
Yeah,
it's close.
It's close because when I was working on singing, my ex-wife had me hold up albums to my ears so I'd project more.
Yeah.
And hear myself naturally.
Good. The fourth position is right at the hinge of your jaw and runs right along your jawbone, and therefore the sensations that you allow deeper into your mouth go all the way back to your molars and include your molars. Now count to 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now that feels like normal speech, doesn't it? And that's where most Americans speak, is in that 4 position. Occasionally you'll find some in 3. Every once in a while you'll find some really brash people in a 2 place. 5 is just as silly as 1 is. And it's the Forrest Gump voice. You have to go back behind your ears. And you have to lose some IQ to be able to do this well. So I wonder if you could, of course, you may not be smart enough to, but would you count to 10 with me? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so now the big question is, you all did it. You went from 1, sort of, all the way to 5. You did 5 really well. How did you do it? Sure, you counted, but how did you change the quality of your voice so much?
You could feel the pressure from the hand. You knew where your hands were, so you knew
where the resonance was allowed.
Focused.
Now listen to this. I'm going to count to 5 in sequence in the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 position. And you'll swear that as I go toward the 5, I'm actually dropping in pitch. When in actual fact, I'm not dropping in pitch at all, but the resonances are becoming less bright and more dark or more warm. Now listen. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The fundamental frequency was exactly the same, but the resonance pattern was way different. How did I do that? How did you do that? It's actually really simple, but you may not be keying on it. You actually are, but how are you restricting it? It isn't your hand that's doing it. Your hand is just a little outside thing to help you. I'm going to help you. Yes, it's the shaping of the resonance chambers. How are you shaping the resonance chambers? Or closing them, as the case may be. Put your hands in the one position. Count to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Where's your tongue? It's way up in the front so that there's no sound left behind it, is there? There's a blocked off entirely. Now we'll go to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Where's your tongue? It's way back in your throat, really hollow inside. So the place where you put your tongue in the process of this resonation has a significant bearing on what kind of a quality of sound you get. We're going to sing Home on the Range one more time. Only I'm going to hold up different fingers as we go along, and you need to remember. So let's review them. 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's right out on the tip of your nose, and the only sound is that right in front of your front teeth. There's no space down inside your mouth where anything can resonate. It's actually really fun to do with your friends. Okay, so that's number 1. Number 2 is along the bridge of your nose, the smile lines, and it takes in resonance to your eye teeth, but no deeper. Go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can feel it. Sits right out on your front teeth, doesn't it? Yeah, like blowing your nose. I don't think I want to go there. Okay, 3, right by the edge of your eyes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 4, hinge of the jaw. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And behind your ears. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, here we go. You're starting in a 3 place, so hold the 3 place. And Home on the Range. Oh, give me a home where the buffalo, 2, with the deer and the antelope play, 4, where seldom is heard a discouraged 5, and the skies are not cloudy all day. 1. Now, but someone's not making it. Somebody's not making it, right? Sounds like a kazoo choir, doesn't it? 2, where the deer and the antelope play. 3, where seldom is heard a discouraging word, and the skies are not cloudy all day. Now, that should show you something about how much control you have over the resonances in your voice. And it isn't a mystery. It doesn't have to be a mystery. It actually is a really fun little parlor game. You know, like I was saying over here to Sarah, you can set that thing in motion, and the people just start giggling when they get up into that 1 position or in that 2 place, and the 5 place is silly, and the 2, literally anywhere from 2, 3, and 4 you'll run across all the time in our culture. You never want to run across number 1. And you never want to run across number 5. They're just there to sort of stake out that territory.
I noticed that my jaw moved more as you moved back.
That's an interesting observation. Yeah. Okay, so now that's the second piece of information. You can put the 1 and the 6 in place and still play this game from front to back. Should we try it? Let's try it. Everybody's saying, do we have to? Everybody ready for a new song? Okay, should we come around the mountain? Okay.
I thought Mary had a little lamb.
It's not quite long enough. Okay, should be coming round right about there. Okay, so that's the pitch. 1, small, 6, biggest, kind of yawning-like is a sensation that some people would describe it like. And then 2. Go. She'll be coming round the mountain when she comes. 3. She'll be coming round the mountain when she comes. 1. She'll be coming round the mountain. She'll be coming round the mountain. She'll be coming round the mountain when she comes. 4. Oh, she'll be riding 6 white horses when she comes. 5. She'll be riding 6 white horses when she comes. 2. She'll be riding 6 white horses. She'll be riding 6 white horses. She'll be riding 6 white horses when she comes. Okay, now we've got somebody sitting here at the back that's just been listening. So I'm going to come back to her because we need an objective observation. Can you talk about some of the things that you've been hearing?
Let's see. Well, it's a different...
Does it change?
It does change, yes.
Does it? Can you hear it when it becomes more bright and brash?
Yes. When
Can you hear
when
it
you
when it
get
becomes,
up number 5 and 6, and it's more
then it
clear.
becomes very hollow, doesn't it?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, so you have some control over that, and the thing that you want to know is that when you are in 2, the more you want it to be bright and lively and happy, the more you go toward 2. The more serious or mellow it is, the more you go toward 4. And your ability to migrate between those places will mark your ability to change the color of your voice. And that's kind of fun, don't you think? Good. But I think that the challenge that's the most significant for everybody is finding that 6. Because most people aren't used to letting go of those chewing muscles. What does that say? You guys like to eat too much. Yeah, like to swallow too much. You can chew a lot, just don't swallow. But the issue is to release that space. Why would you not choose to do that? Well, most of the time people don't want to do that because it makes them think that they sound like an opera singer. Or it makes them sound pretentious. You know, when I sing, she'll be coming round the mountain when she comes. She'll be coming round the mountain when she comes. What self-respecting square dance caller would want to sound like that? Because it sounds too formal. Yeah. But still in all, you don't have to go all that way. So that instead of, she'll be coming round the mountain when she comes, she'll be coming round the mountain. You hear me change it all of a sudden? I just let that tightness release a little bit, and it can release more, and it can release more. And so there are occasions when, for example, you're singing Ghost Riders in the Sky, where you really want to let that thing uncork and sound great. And that's where that 1 to 6 would really serve you in really good stead. Okay, there's one other element. How are we doing time-wise?
15 minutes or more.
Good, or more. Okay, so here we go. The next thing that you need to learn how to do that will help you with your singing to become more efficient is to learn how to equalize the vowels that you say. We all have patterns of vowel production that are born out of the natural patterns with which we've spoken since the day we were able to talk. We've picked it up, learning it from our parents. Most people in the same kind of neighborhood talk the same way, and those patterns get learned. We just learn everything we do about speech by imitating what sounds we hear, and then we try them out and so forth. So we get enculturated into those productions long before we know whether they're good or not, whether they're efficient or whether they're inefficient. I'll give you a case in point. Would all of you say cheese? Cheese. Elongate the E and watch what your tongue does. Cheese. If your tongue is like my tongue, it thickens at the back, it spreads out, and it touches my molars. Does yours do that? That's the normal American production of cheese. That's American cheese. Now, say the word pizza. Pizza. Elongate the E. Pizza. Pizza. Does anybody sense that that's a different formation of the E vowel? Does it vibrate any differently? Okay, if your tongue is like my tongue, it rolls a little bit, instead of drawing back, it rolls slightly forward. It narrows somewhat so that it doesn't touch the sides of my teeth. If it touches my teeth at all, it touches them up near the eye teeth, but maybe not at all. So say again, pizza. Pizza. You get it? Okay, now say cheese. Cheese. Now you can feel that those are both E vowels, but one of them has an obstruction in it, and the other one just flows out of your mouth really easy without that obstruction. So cheese makes the base of your tongue kind of tight. As a matter of fact, if you take your thumb and jam it right there and say cheese, I'm going to demonstrate, and then I want you to do it. Cheese. Oh, you try it. Cheese. And the higher you go on the scale, the tighter that muscle gets. And all of a sudden it's all blocked up. And you're having to work like the Dickens just to get the sound out. So now say pizza. Pizza. Elongate the E. Pizza. Jam yourself in the throat. And now we're gonna again. Pizza. And the probability is that the higher you went, the less tense your tongue got. Did it happen that way?
It was different.
It was different, but it was good.
When you get the base of your tongue so that it's not stiff while you're saying vowels, you win a great victory, because the stiffness in the base of your tongue will always inhibit your range to go high, because that muscle will start to stiffen up, and I'm talking about the base just right there. Oh, well, I can tell that yours, even at rest, let's see, this is Bruce. Even at rest, Bruce's tongue is perpetually tight. Just kind of massage yourself right there. Feel how it is? Now do that same thing on me. What did you feel in the difference?
Mine's much more of a knot.
It's almost like a bone. It's real firm. And with me, all you get is the double chin, right? And there's no muscle in there behind that. Yeah. You weren't supposed to say yes to that.
Okay.
So cheese exemplifies that tightness of the tongue that Americans use to speak with. The pizza is more of an Italianate, or more of what I'd call a lyrical vowel or a singing vowel. They both make E. They're just made slightly differently. So now what I'd like to have you do is to find that pizza place again. P. And here's the pitch. P. From that position, how far open can you open your mouth and still be true to the E vowel? If you open too far, it won't be an E anymore. P. You should be able to get your finger at the first knuckle between your front teeth on an E vowel. Try it. P. Good. Listen to the difference. P. I want you to listen. P. Hear the resonance change? It enriches just by opening up ever so slightly. Not so much so that you lose the word or the vowel, but just enough so that the resonance can happen. So take that pizza and be as slack in your jaw as you can be. Who was it? Were you asking about the jaw just a little bit ago? We're getting there right now. So, here you go. P. Now let me demonstrate. That's the place that you want. I'm going to have you do this with me. I'll demonstrate, then you do it. P. And then I'm going to stop on the U. Okay? I want you to do that with me. P. Stop on the U. Is it Ben? Does that feel like...
Ben's close enough.
Okay. Dan, does that feel like a U?
Sort of.
Sort of. Nobody forms their spoken U that way. Do it again and land on the U and then see, is that normal? Go. Here's E, P, Does that feel like a normal U?
No.
it's a different place. Everybody sing your normal U. Ooh. Feel it vibrate back in the back of your mouth. Now do the EU again. You sense that it sits up on the forward. That's right. And when people are singing along, they'll be singing along and they'll go, and there'll be certain vowels that just disappear. And the U is one of those vowels that always disappears if you don't sing it in an equalized way. When you start this process, when I do the first few repetitions, the E vowel moves forward and the U vowel moves back. But after just a few repetitions, it starts to equalize, and no longer does it move front and back. It sort of sits right in a central place, and it's like I can hear the E and I can hear the U, but I don't feel the movement front and back anymore. And I'll bet you'll feel the same way. Here you go. See what I mean? It doesn't move around in your mouth anymore. So there's a very subjective way to tell when that's equalized because it doesn't move around. It doesn't migrate in your mouth. Now take E and A and say, yay, 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 and stop on the A. Yay, 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 yay. Darwin, does that feel like your normal A? No, it doesn't. Say your normal A. It does the same thing as the cheese does. Your tongue draws back and stiffens, doesn't it? This one doesn't. Your tongue's real flaccid, isn't it? Matter of fact, the only thing that's moving is your mouth. Yay, 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 yay. And all that is yay, 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 yay. Right. Okay, so now take that A and do just like we did a moment ago. A-O, 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 A-O. Stop on an O. And Marie, now do it and stop on the O. Go, everybody. A-O, 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 A-O. Does that feel like a normal O for you? Sort of? Okay, anybody else?
It feels like there's a Y in front of it.
A-O, A-O.
And the other one that we just did,
Uh-huh.
yo, yo, yo.
Uh-huh.
It almost comes out like a yo rather than...
It should be A-O, 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 not A-yo, A-yo. You're just trying to leave your tongue flaccid. Now try it. Stop on the O. Does that feel like a normal O for you? How about you, Steve?
The thing that I'm noticing is, and it's something that I was taught years ago and had not really placed because I've been doing it all my life, pretty much, and that is your tongue, my tongue, when I'm singing, touches my lower teeth. It touches the front lower teeth. When I'm talking and I say a vowel, it moves back into the mouth, almost sinks down into the cavity of the lower palate. Whereas when I'm singing, my tongue rides just on the inside of my teeth, and it just lays there for vowels, because you don't want to block up any space, and you can't sing a consonant.
That's right.
But you can sing a vowel.
That's good. Okay, so what he was saying was that your tongue should stay on your front teeth all the time when you're singing a vowel. You know, it'll move when you've got to say consonants, but it rarely does that. All of us are a little bit suspect because our tongues want to draw back into our mouths a little too far. We got a couple of more vowels to get through. So we've been e, wee, 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 and then yeah, 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 and a-o, 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 and ooh, oh, 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 oh. You know, those all sort of sit in the same place. So E sits in the same place that A does, that sits in the same place as O, and sits in the same place as oo. There's a uniformity about them. The same thing is true for the ah vowel. And all you have to do is to say ya, 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 ya. Okay, who haven't I called on yet? I haven't called on you. Do it, would you please, Arnold?
Okay. Ya, 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 ya.
Now, anybody that's close can see that Arnold's doing that all with his tongue and not your jaw. Say ya, 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 ya.
Ya, 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 ya,
Yeah, it changed. You changed strategies partway through, didn't you? Yeah.
Told me to.
Use the second strategy.
Okay. Ya 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 ya.
Does that feel like a normal ah?
Well, the sound of it does, yeah.
Sure, but the feel is.
No,
it doesn't feel. Now do your traditional ah.
Ya 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 ya. Oh ya 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 ya.
That's a different vowel. It's not really an ah, it's more of an but that's what all of us do. What Arnold does is what almost all of us do. So would you say ya 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 ya? That's very good. That's correct. We are trying to get to the point where all of the vowels equalize. So if you hear me, I go "Eo, eo, 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 eo." You can hear the A, you can hear the O, but there's something else that doesn't change. Can you hear that? Eo, 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 eo. That you can hear the movement of the vowel, but there's nothing constant in the middle of that. But eo, 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 eo has something that remains uniform throughout. Can you hear that?
The uniformity of the
Yes.
is constant.
That's right, and that's what you're trying to be able to do while with these vowel tunings. Here we're going to put it to the test. I want you to use the vowel combinations E-U, 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 E, and we're going to sing She'll Be Coming Round the Mountain. Here we go. E-U, 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 E. E-U, 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 E. Hey-O. Hey-O, 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 hey. Now, one of the things that you should have gotten from that was that the singing of it was so much easier. It didn't require so much effort to go high or to drop low. And there was a uniformity of sound or sensation in your body. Let's change patterns. Ya, 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 ya. Yay, yay, yay. Yay, 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 yay. Whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa, 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 whoa. Hey-o. Hey-o, 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 hey. And it doesn't really matter what combination of vowels you're using. When you do that sort of activity, it equalizes the vowels. So go back and we'll sing the first phrase, A-O, 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 A, and then we'll go right back with the words, and you'll try to imitate yourselves, the sensations that you just had, you'll try to imitate when you put the words to it. Ready? A-O, 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 A. Same phrase. She'll be coming round the... Go back and sing the very same melody, so you just put it in a loop. It's starting to get a little low. Let's raise the pitch. She'll be... Okay, now... A-O, A, go. A-O, 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 A. Same loop with the words. She'll be coming... No, let me demonstrate. A-O, 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 A. She'll be coming round the mountain when she comes. In other words, go back and sing the same melody that you just sang with the words. First with vowels, go. A-O, 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 A. Same phrase with words. She'll be coming round the mountain when she comes. E-U, going on. E-U, 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 E. With words, that same phrase. She'll be coming round the mountain when she comes. Ya, ya, ya. Ya, 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 ya. With words. I can't. Okay, so did any of you sense what was going on? Did you sense the quietude inside your mouths as you went along? Say yes. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so let me recapitulate because we're now kind of pushing the end of the hour. The first thing that I wanted to show you was that you can get a really enriched quality in your sound with nothing really artificial, just by maintaining the sense of smallness in the larynx and bigness in the oral pharynx. The second thing that I wanted you to learn is that you can have control over the brightness or the darkness of the sound, and it's your tongue primarily that causes that to happen. If your tongue is way forward in your mouth, the tone will be brighter, and if the tongue is drawn back in your throat, it will be darker. And then the third thing that I wanted you to learn was that if you shape your vowels in a uniform kind of a way, you get a uniform quality. Would you like to know why? When you shape your vowels the way I was showing you, the blade of your tongue, the part that's in your mouth, is the part of your tongue that's shaping the vowels. When you use the regular vernacular American system, it's the part of the tongue after it's turned the corner that goes down your throat that does most of the vowel shaping. And as soon as you start using that space, that part of your tongue to shape vowels, then the ability to keep the 1 to 6 is completely shot, because the tongue is down back in that space, killing that open space. But if you can learn to get the vowels up inside your mouth, then the back of your tongue just lays quietly and enhances that natural resonance. When I was asking, it's Daryl, right? Arnold. When I was asking Arnold about the difference between the uniformity or the lack of uniformity, you saw that there was something that remained constant regardless of what vowel I was singing. And that thing that remained constant was the space in the oral pharynx that was not intruded upon, and that produces its own resonance package. So the vowel qualities changed, but that element didn't change and made a uniformity all the way across. A little more polished, and frankly, you should have noticed that as you went higher with equalized vowels, it was easier to sing. It didn't take as much pressure. Whew. That's a lot to cover. Questions?
Yes, on your vowels, I didn't hear any I.
That's because I is a diphthong. It has two different sounds. It's an ah and an e in the glide off. I. And so we identify it as an orthographic symbol, the letter I, but it's actually spoken as a diphthong, a combination of ah and e. I. That's right. I. Other questions? Any other questions? Yes.
Okay, if we're going to, using these techniques are going to help us to increase not only our singing ability, but our ability to then sing better. Well, which is the same thing. Do we practice what you've shown us today?
Yes. The way that you practice it is that you take a singing tip, and instead of saying the words from the beginning, you just choose vowel combinations. And you sing the first verse or the first phrase of it just with vowel equalization. Having done that, go back and put the words to it, imitating the sensations that were in your mouth when you had equalized vowels. That's the first thing that you'd want to do. The second thing, after you've done that, then you might want to play with the forwardness, backness, mostly the forwardness, because as you know, all of you speak in a 4. You'd be wise to sing in a 3 or a 2.5. So everybody has to learn how to migrate that sound more forward. So after you've moved from the vowel equalization to the place where you're actually saying the words, then start using your hands. Put your microphone on a stand, use your hands to remind you that you want to stay in a 2 or a 3 place. Okay? Then once that's in place, if you want to, you can put this small 1, big 6, and step by step you can enhance yourself. But you start off with the very simplest task and then just add layers to it. Other questions? Then we'll stop. Thank you all very much for being here.